Who needs a gym when you just have 35 broken Land Rovers? Welcome back to the Lost Cause Ranch. I'm Joe, and this is a day in the life of a Land Rover hoarder. If you haven't seen this before, this is kind of my midweek update on just what happens behind the scenes here at the Lost Cause Ranch. Normally our main weekend video is something like building this LR4 truck. This midweek video is just kind of the day-to-day, what happens when you have 20-some Land Rovers, and what we do to sustain that mess. So let's get into what is happening this week. So I think today we're gonna play with the lightweight a little bit more instead of just doing a bunch of random stuff. After getting the TDI in there last week, I have a ton of motivation to accomplish some stuff on this. So never waste ambition when you're on a roll. So we'll play with this in just a second. But first, we got a little bit of a hot rod sitting in here. This is an SL63 AMG. I've been maintaining this car for probably 8 years now. 8 years is about right. And we have a little service to do today. We're gonna do a little bit of a transmission service, and while we're in there, we're gonna upgrade it to a deeper pan and an upgraded filter over there. If we're gonna do it at any point, this is the time to do it. And as an American English speaking person, this is the funniest brand name. You know what, we're gonna put the hood down. This is a long hood, sits up pretty high. We don't need to run into the ceiling with it. That'd be less than ideal. These cars are such cool cars. It's like the German muscle car. 6.3 liter, it might be a 6.2 liter. Naturally aspirated V8, makes gobs of power, like 507 or something. Years ago, had an ML63 with this same engine, and it was probably the most comical thing I ever experienced. The first time I really floored that and took it into maybe triple-digit speeds. It was the first experience of an SUV that was too fast to be an SUV. Now we daily drive a Range Rover with the same amount of power, so why not? I'd say it's still pretty decent looking. So I miss the days of being able to fill transmissions up from the engine bay with a dipstick tube and being able to check them up there. The Germans were kind of the first to do this. Pretty much every manufacturer has adopted this anymore, but there's how we check the level. So this is the new pan, new seal. We'll install this and then we get to pump all the fluid in from the bottom. Then we got to start it up, get it up to temp, pump some more in, and then we just let it run out until it trickles. It essentially sets the level by this. So it's actually, I mean, it's a good system. It just is not as easy as it used to be. Now that we got the Mercedes done and dropped back off, it's time to go over to the lightweight. I somewhat cleaned out the area around it. You know, that whole lacking of space thing, we'll get to an update on that in a little bit here. But we're gonna go slightly backwards on this today. Sometimes you gotta go backwards to go forwards. We're going to tear the entire body off. Quite possibly the easiest doors you can ever pull off. And thankfully we have the entire front end already off. So next up is bulkhead. We're gonna yank the windshield off just so we can strap this a little bit easier. I know I've said it many times before, but the Defenders, and especially these old series trucks, are almost playing with like adult Legos. Oh, the floor is gone, so stuff's falling. They're just so incredibly easy to tear apart, especially the air portables. These are especially easy to pull the panels off. That was so they could dump weight and make them air portable or lightweights, because they're actually heavier than a standard series until you do things like this. Well, I love when those come out without trouble. Got the sill plates off as well. Those aren't gonna go back on. One, because they're a little bit mangled. Two, because that is gonna turn into our rock slider. So we'll do the same form, just much thicker. We'll do like 1/4 inch or 3/16 inch steel. Something that we can just skid off of. And while we did that, I went ahead and cut the box sides here. Flush with that sill. That rock slider is gonna go past that. So we don't want that to overlap and get grabbed, because that would just tear the heck out of this. But I think we have everything on-bolted from the frame to the bulkhead. I just need to slide the bulkhead bolts out. It's nice that those both came loose without fighting. Before we can slide those out, we just need to swing the engine hoist in place so we can take the weight off it. We don't need it flopping around or anything. Not too often you get to pull those out by hand. Well, hopefully we have everything unhooked. Looks like we got everything separated. We got a little bit of work to do on the bulkhead, but I think it's in decent shape. Shouldn't be a whole lot. I mean, we won't really know until we get some of this massive amount of undercoating off. But now where I'm gonna go with this is a different story. I think what we'll do is slide this back forward to where it was when we started. We're gonna pull the engine and transmission out next, because then for the rear tub, we'll back it onto the hoist so we can pick that up with the hoist. I think that'll be the easiest way to go about it. So yeah, that will give us room to stuff the bulkhead behind the lightweight. You know, just still playing a little bit of musical chairs around here. You know, just a little bit more room would be super nice to have. Getting everything out of the way here makes me feel a little bit better. The undercoating isn't actually all that thick across most of the chassis. There's some of it on there, but it's not terrible. We should be able to remedy that, get this all cleaned up. We're gonna weld the mounts into place, remake that one. We'll jig something in there, get a proper one made up. That was just to locate it, to make sure everything works. It's just gonna be much easier to deal with without the engine in the way. I've been kind of deciding what to do fuel tank wise. I think I'm gonna go back to having the fuel tank right here, and we're just gonna do a 12-gallon one. We'll build that, but it'll just be a single tank, 12 gallons. It's gonna kind of limit range somewhat. I don't know if the thing gets 15 miles to the gallon. What is that? 150, 180 miles. But I'm just thinking we'll carry some jerry cans. Something like one or two of these if we're going on a trip. It's just gonna be simpler setup having one tank and not trying to reinvent the wheel and overcomplicate things, which means we'll probably move the battery over to the other side underneath the driver's seat. I think that is the move. Yeah, feeling good. So the only thing we gotta do now is get the tub off the back. We're gonna do that with the hoist, so we gotta jockey stuff around again. Shocking, I know. I'm gonna try and get some of this stuff shoved up there because we also are gonna try and get that axle in the Chevy pickup tomorrow. That way we can get that out of here as well. So we're gonna stick the TDI back on the cart. This time around I got it on the hoist so I can swing the engine hoist under there a little bit easier. It'll just be a little less messing around this way. There we go, line it up a little better. You know, I keep finding myself without steering wheels. Seems to be a common theme around here, but holy cow, this push is about 150 times easier without an engine. That one has been the easiest thing I've pushed in a while. And back to my torture testing of the Harbor Freight dollies. We killed another one apparently. Nice, just fucking awesome. The old Santana motor just is heavier than 1,000 pounds. Or Chinese wood is not capable of its rating. You know, and stuff like this, I'm always curious, is this dirt from the US or is that hanging out from when it was over in the UK? Maybe it's some Irish dirt. This thing was stationed in Ireland, according to the history. Now, ratchet straps aren't designed for lifting, so don't do this. Why is everything just dirty? If the guy would have centered this on the hoist, I'd have a little more room. Apparently, I got a bunch of grease on the ratchet straps when we threw the X5 away. Lovely. Guess we should probably cut those. Now we gotta figure out what to do with that. You know, I'm just trying to solve problems, but I end up just creating new ones. Oh, maybe we'll bring the little trailer around to set this on. It's gotta go somewhere. Before we move the rest of the stuff around and make room for the truck here, I'm gonna spray down the U-bolts in hopes of something coming apart on this. I don't have the most faith in the world. It's supposed to rain again tonight, and the LR4 truck isn't the most weatherproof thing in the world yet, so I think I want to try and land that over where the lightweight was. We'll get the chassis out of here, and that way, with the truck in the air, we can roll the chassis underneath it. There's just not enough ceiling height to roll a tall lifted Land Rover underneath a pickup truck. So at least the chassis is pretty easy to roll around. It's a true lightweight now. Turns out, not nearly enough room for the LR4 truck to fit in there without moving all of that, and we're not gonna do that. So plan B, C, F, I don't know what one we're on. I think I'll stick the chassis back over there. We'll get the tub out of here and then just hope that we get the pickup truck done before the rain, and if not, we'll figure something out. We're good at figuring things out. I mean, I don't know if we're good at it, but we do figure things out. You know, it's been a minute since I've pushed this thing around. Who needs a gym when you just have 35 broken Land Rovers? 5 broken Land Rovers. Built-in strength training every day. Now what? It's like an ongoing real-life game of Tetris. Kind of hoping it just sits in between the rails on the trailer. May not though. I got an idea. Let's try that. We got quite the conglomeration going on here. Well, that's actually coming apart way better than expected. Wow. Those of you guys not in the Rust Belt don't understand just how good that right there is. Here, I thought I was recording that, but apparently I didn't hit the button, which, I mean, I wish you guys would have saw it because it was just me cussing at this thing because it wouldn't roll out of there because the rear end's locked up. I mean, that's the reason why we're taking it out to begin with, but you know how awkward it is to try and do that when something is all bound up. It was just flopping around. Sorry you guys missed that. But we're ready to go back together, but that will conclude today's day in the life of a Land Rover Hoarder. It was actually a day and a half in the life of a Land Rover Hoarder, but it was a pretty productive one, and this should be the last time you see the Chevy truck laying around here because that'll be gone today. We'll get the LR4 truck in before it rains. Then next video, this weekend's video, I think we'll tackle more of the frame on the lightweight, or I guess it is a chassis for the lightweight. I'm just a middle American, we call them frames. We'll get the mounts sorted out, we'll get it cleaned up. The old roll bar mounts need to get cut off, and we'll just assess everything. I think the chassis is in pretty good shape, minus what we got going on here, which we'll address. And new building front, everything has changed, but it has all also stayed the same. I don't think the one we planned on is gonna go through, or at least at the moment, which kind of puts us in a little bit of a pickle, but at least we have an answer now, and that's not up in the air. That was a headache, and we will sit down and talk about that at some point in time. I just want to make sure everything is straightened out before we talk too much. So for now, car wash. Somewhere else near future, we got other options. We shall see. But with that being said, appreciate you guys watching, appreciate you subscribing, and we will catch you this weekend with some more Land Rover goodies. You know what else is crazy? We technically have more Chevy trucks in here than Land Rovers.